The Anbernic RG477V seems to be the highest praised vertical retro gaming handheld on the market, with plenty of reviews praising its performance, the beautiful screen, and improved controls. I couldn't help myself but buy one and test it myself. And no, this is not sponsored by Anbernic. I paid for this little baby myself, so you're gonna hear exactly what I've got to say about it. Let's dive in! So it's no surprise that this screen is absolutely beautiful, and the brightness levels are absolutely off the charts, which can be a bit of an issue if you're trying to game at night, because as far as gaming and direct sunlight's involved, man, this is absolutely perfect. But when you try to relax in bed and you want to bring that brightness all the way down so your eyes are not gonna pop out of them sockets, yeah, it is like a flashlight. Sadly, that's true for all screens of this type. By this type, I mean the LTPS screen we've got on this device and plenty of other handhelds that are coming out. Now, don't get me wrong, the screen is awesome. The quality is beautiful, the upscaling on this is As much as it pains me to say that, I did hit 41 in December of last year, which is, oh my god, it's 35 years of constant gaming. Well, not constant, but you know what I mean. But it also feels like the games are being considered retro right now. I would say it's maybe the first Nintendo Game Boy or Amiga or C64. No, PS2 is a retro game. This is unbelievable. That's why I keep saying it's retrostalgia instead of retro gaming. Seems a little bit less senile, but hey, you can call it whatever you want. And in that spirit of 90s and early 2000s, seeing these games on a much better screen than we used to play them on, because if you're one of the millennials or xennials, as they call us, 84, you know that the screens we gamed on were dog shit by today's standards. Back then, whoa, when we've seen PlayStation 1 launching, it was so beautiful, man. And right now, going on to PS1, PS2, or even the older titles, not only these screens are upscaling all the games, but because of the pixel density, they just look better. So, as far as the screen goes, it's awesome. The only problem you've got, it is a 4x3 screen. So if you're trying to play games that were made for something horizontal, like for example the PSP, or even worse, Switch, which we'll get back to because I don't think you should be getting this device if you want to play Switch games. That means if you're playing anything in a horizontal mode and you don't want to stretch out the game, you're gonna get big black bars on the bottom and the top. In terms of the real world performance with real games and not benchmark scores, because I know there's hundreds of different posts everywhere, so you've probably seen these already. What I found is that everything up to PlayStation 2 is working smoothly. I personally didn't experience any issue with PS2 titles, PS1 and anything below. The Nintendo 64 games look and run perfectly. Same goes for PSP and Dreamcast. I had zero issues whatsoever, at least with the games I tried. Obviously your mileage may vary because we're still emulating these games, so there's always a chance that one of your games might not work 100%. There might be some texture issues, but like I said, everything I tried worked well. Now where limitations are hitting this device is with consoles like PlayStation 3, for example, where RG477 isn't beefy enough to handle any of these titles. Same goes with the Switch games. I tried something very light like the Silk Song and it kind of worked, but it was still a bit laggy. If you know what I mean, it wasn't laggy, and I have to admit that I didn't like the experience overall. Anything requiring any more power like the Zelda, you can just forget about it, it's just not gonna work. Just a quick break for the word from our sponsors. Joking, no one's sponsoring me, but if you skip this because you thought you were skipping an ad, I'm so disappointed in you. Anyway, I was just editing the footage and I realized I haven't mentioned one thing, because I never thought this is relevant, but after scanning Reddit, I've noticed there's a lot of people who have issues with the file sizes and not being able to copy them onto the microSD. And that'd be most prevalent with consoles like Wii U or PlayStation 2, where file sizes exceed 4 GB. Now typically when you format a card, it's being formatted to FAT32 system, which has limitations. The best thing you can do is pop that card back in the computer, format it to EXFAT. And no, this is not fat shaming, it's just a file name. Chill. And because it's leaner, you can copy bigger files to your card. You're welcome, back to the standard programming. The other limitation of this little device is the fact that it is an Android-based system. And even though the Dimensity 8300 chipset in this is really good, like everything apart from Switch and PS3 and everything above works really well, there are limitations that you can't really jump over. The Mali G610 GPU within that chipset is just not powerful enough to handle more complex titles, which quite honestly, at this price point, I'm kind of okay with. What I'm not quite okay with are the analog sticks having so much of a dead zone around them. It doesn't happen all the time, which is really weird because on some games you can feel you have to push that analog stick all the way for it to be registered as a move, and on some games they just work well. And looking at plethora of Reddit posts, it seems to be not just my issue. I've seen also complains about the action buttons not being as firm as in other Anbernic devices. This is where I kind of disagree, because I do like those membrane buttons. They do feel a bit softer, but they're definitely still firm enough, and they do give you this retro feel, if that makes sense. It feels like a PlayStation 2 pad, to be fair, or close to that. The other thing that kind of blows are the downwards facing speakers. Now, typically in small devices like that, you can't really expect some insane audio experience, but if they're pushing the sound downwards, it's always the worst of the worst worlds. And here's a comparison, maybe unfair one, between the 477 and my Steam Deck. And if you really want to hear the difference, pop your headphones on. Now, if you owned PlayStation 4, you know how loud some fans can get. And this one isn't as bad, but it is out there, especially when you're gaming for a prolonged time, and these fans really have to kick in to stop this from melting. In most scenarios, that's not an issue, but if you're gaming next to your significant other, you don't want to wake her up, it can be a little bit too loud. Now, because this is a handheld, it should be fairly comfortable to play on, right? I don't know if that's true. It is a beastie thing. It is pretty heavy, but heaviness isn't an issue. Steam Deck is heavy. ROG Ally is heavy. The problem is the weight distribution here, because when you're playing, you're not going to be playing like this. You're gonna be playing like that. So supporting the whole thing with pinkies on the bottom doesn't seem like that much of a hassle. If you are flying long haul like I did on this video here, trust me, after an hour and a half of gaming like this, you need a break, because oh my god. So this is where horizontal devices are so much better in that regard. Obviously there are other drawbacks, especially when you're playing retro games, because then they get stretched, or you've got two black boxes on both sides, but you know, horses for courses. The real question you should be asking is what Anbernic RG477V, Jesus, these names are is like to live with on a daily basis. Because let's face it, we all bought gadgets that we thought they would be useful, and then they ended up in the cupboards just gathering dust. I can say with confidence that from all my handhelds, this one travels with me the most, purely because it can play most of the titles I want to play on the go. It is way less bulky than my good old Steam Deck, and also the battery lasts between 5 and 8 hours depending how and what you're playing. It's enough for my ADHD. I can't focus on things for that long. Which brings me to another point. You can just press the power button, game goes to sleep mode, press it again, and we're back at the screen we just finished. Just a Steam Deck, okay? This is not revolutionary, but it helps me just to jump into the game, play it for a wee while, do other things in the meantime, and then jump back in whenever I've got another 5 minutes. Since we're on battery topic in the standby mode, this thing actually drains way less than my Steam Deck, so it will drain about maybe 1 to 2% overnight, which isn't a big thing. In a day, you will lose maybe 4% of a charge if you left the game running in the background, which is absolutely epic, because that means you're never really coming to a dead device. And even if you're running low on a battery, you can charge it at 20 watts. I know they're claiming 25 or something like that. It's not. I tried it multiple times with different meters. It kind of tops out at 21, 22, but average is about 20. One of the things I've noticed on Reddit that this little device is being criticized for is the fact that it is almost fully glass. And that's the reason I never got the black version, because sleek as it looks on the photos, I am sure this is going to be a massive fingerprint magnet. The gray one, fingerprint's enough for my liking. And because I always carry my camera gear with me, I've got microfiber cloths everywhere, so I can put up with that. Something you need to bear in mind, that pretty much everything on this device is glass, apart from those small areas around the sticks, buttons, and the D-pad. Another thing worth mentioning, which might be a problem for some, is these sticks are not analog, they're digital, which means if you're playing something like Gran Turismo 4, you can't really control the throttle with a back button. And look, this is not an issue for majority of the games, but before committing to purchase, I think you should know that. So the big question is whether you should buy this or not. And the way I look at things is I calculate how expensive this is versus realistically how often I'm going to use this little device or anything else for that matter. And if the answer is that you're going to use it enough to justify the cost, which with this one, well, you're looking at $250. They do go on sale periodically, so you might pound down a deal, and quite frankly, $250 sounds like a lot of money. But there are devices way more expensive than this, and not that much more powerful. Obviously, if you double the money, there are some incredible handhelds that can play Switch games, that can handle PS3, and sometimes beyond, but you're paying the double. That's all from me, and if you have any questions about RG477V, drop them down in the comments box below, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.